Hi, I'm Brian Kellerman, the Chief Quality and Safety Officer at Kellerman Consulting, and you are watching our video series on ISO 9001 and quality management systems in any operation. In this episode, we are going to review the primary review functions of a quality management system, which is the internal audit and the management review of the quality management system, critical quality metrics performed as part of quality control checks, and key performance indicators that are part of the quality assurance function of operations. Both internal audits and management reviews are required to be performed as part of ISO 9001 programs, and we will be referring to the requirements specific to that certification program as we review both of these types of master verification activities. Any operation of either products or services within a quality management system should conduct an internal audit and a management review every year, regardless of whether the company employs a QA department, QC department, or both within operations. While top management is expected to perform management reviews with assistance from quality personnel, the internal audit can be performed from many different and qualified members of operations and quality. We would generally associate internal audits with the quality assurance department and a quality assurance manager, where the organization designates an individual in that role. However, where a company has both a QA and QC department, it can be very advantageous to have those two departments audit the other to ensure that no individual audits their own work. As we get into the mechanics of the internal audit and the management review, we need to start with a quick explanation of the internal audit and the management review functions. For internal audits, the quality management system is reviewed in its entirety at least once annually by one or more individuals within quality and/or operations. The internal auditor or auditors will evaluate the documents within the system, looking for up-to-date information about the quality operations for each program, completeness and accuracy in record keeping for operations, scheduling and performed trainings, scheduled and completed maintenance, traceability of measuring devices and overall calibration of equipment subject to calibration, and any sampling, testing, and trending of results for products or services produced by the organization. An internal audit of a quality management system that is not certified to a standard would require that the organized system is reviewed from start to finish. It is best that the QMS is well organized and that the organization of the program is intuitive or easy to decipher by the internal auditor or internal auditors. Any document that is not up to date, contains information not appropriate for operations, or where there is a failure in record keeping of any aspect of the quality management system, a non-conformance or error should be recorded with the identified person responsible for the correction and corrective action of each non-conformance and the date they completed those corrections and corrective actions. Where an organization is audited against ISO 9001 for the quality management system, the internal audit should be against the ISO 9001 code, with the quality management system lined up so that the internal auditor can understand how each document in the quality management system meets the appropriate clause or clauses of that code. In an ISO 9001 internal audit, any gaps in the ability for the quality management system to meet the ISO 9001 requirements would be considered a non-conformance or error in that system. In contrast to the internal audit, a management review is performed by top management and does not go through each document of the quality management system, but instead is a top-line review of programs, inputs, outputs, key stakeholder needs, risks and opportunities, planning, improvements, and any organizational structure updates that have occurred in the time period under review. Where we expect to find nonconformances during the internal audit of the quality management system, those nonconformances are presented to top management during the management review so that quality personnel can be certain that top decision makers are aware of how the quality management system is functioning and that all corrections and corrective actions are properly communicated. A well-run management review will take feedback not only from the internal audit, but also from overall assessments of the program from quality assurance and quality control personnel. We also recommend that top management include time for input from operations, customer service, sales and marketing, and any other department with relevant information on how the quality management system is functioning. How long a management review event takes, how many meetings, and what information is reviewed is heavily dependent on each organization's needs and the intent of top management conducting the review. But no matter how top management chooses to perform the review, it should be structured, scheduled, communicated in advance with a clear timeline, goals, areas to review, and personnel to interview. All personnel involved in the management review must understand that the review is taking place and be given sufficient notice to prepare all of the information requested by management. Detailed notes should be taken throughout the management review process and clear action items defined based on the review's findings. Now that we've defined the internal audit and management review, we need to connect the critical quality metric and key performance indicators within each of these reviews to make sure that these reviews focus directly on the sources of quality within operations. For both the internal audit and management review, we need to cover all of the critical quality metrics and key performance indicators, but each review focuses on a different aspect of those quality metrics. For the internal audit, we must make sure that the critical quality metrics and key performance indicators are carefully reviewed, and this may require that we start with auditing these and then audit the remainder of the program afterwards. Since critical quality metrics are essential to achieving quality in our operations, they should be confirmed for each shift or day of operations, and at the internal audit we would be confirming that these recorded checks are present and that the confirmations occurred in a timely manner and those recorded confirmations are present. In addition, the internal audit of the quality control metrics should include the training and competency evaluations of each quality control personnel responsible for recording or reviewing the inputted data over the time period being audited, and the correction and corrective actions that occurred in operations where critical quality metrics revealed non-conformances or unacceptable quality results. In addition to the critical quality metrics, we need to internally audit key performance indicators for quality assurance operations. When we are internally auditing key performance indicators, we expect to be looking at mathematical calculations such as sums, percentages, averages, complaints per millions of pounds, or other meaningful representations of operations. What we are internally auditing is that the data that went into those calculations are accurate and up to date, that the mathematical formulas are properly set up, and that the results are properly completed. We should also see some trending charts or graphs, and during the internal audit we are looking to make sure that the trending charts or graphs are complete, legible, and accurately represented of the data. We may also be looking to see where key performance indicators show a degradation of quality or an undesirable trend, and that this is properly recorded prior to the presentation to top management. Lastly, where top management has instructed the quality department to prepare the key performance indicators in a dashboard or other presentation, we can internally audit that the information is ready for the presentation to top management, but this would be dependent on the timing of when top management requests the presentation and the timing of the internal audit. When we turn our attention from the internal audit to the management review of the same information, the emphasis should be on a big picture overview of the analysis of the conclusions from the internal audits. In this, we mean that during the performance of internal audits prior to management review, the internal audit team should be primarily focused on evaluating the quality control metrics carefully and checking the key performance indicators are ready for management review. For the management review, we need to superficially check that the internal audit included those close checks of the critical quality metrics, but management review does not need to duplicate the close review of the actual checks, since the internal audit, if properly performed, already did those close checks. Instead, top management should review with quality personnel that the internal audit is complete and discuss how they determined what was appropriate as representative data for all quality metrics and the conclusion of the internal audit. We mentioned earlier that if we have a quality control department and a quality assurance department within our organization, they can internally audit each other's work. And here, the management review can be strengthened by interviewing and reviewing the work each department did separately to better understand how the internal audit was performed and how each department approached the internal audit. The management review of the quality control metrics can be considered complete once the quality personnel have presented their internal audit findings for critical quality metrics and when top management has concluded that the metrics remain appropriate for achieving the correctness and high levels of quality for the products or services generated by operations. Since key performance indicators are the high-level measurements that we are operating correctly and at the highest levels of quality, when we get to the management review of key performance indicators, we are performing one of the most important checks that an organization can perform. Our previously performed internal audit of this information should be confirmed that the information is correct and presented in a manner that the top management requested, and if those conditions have been met, top management should be able to complete the review of the data and make highly informed decisions about the direction of the organization and operations. As such, the management review of key performance indicators should be a deep dive into that information. Each KPI should be reviewed by top management as part of forward-looking organizational risks and opportunities, planning and budgeting, and the KPIs should reference any internal or external communication from key stakeholders, such as sister organizations under the shared corporate structure, key suppliers, key customers, and any regulatory bodies. We wouldn't expect to discover any nonconformances for key performance indicators during management review, since any deviations for KPIs would trigger company-wide corrections and corrective actions if operations failed to meet KPI standards. Additionally, properly performed internal auditing of the KPIs would identify any nonconformances for the data and trending charts prior to the management review. As a result, management review would ideally never require corrections or corrective actions, and instead, top management can focus on using that information to chart the next steps for the high-quality operations. With our critical quality metrics and key performance indicators fully implemented in our quality management system, we have properly established quality control and quality assurance measurements in operations. When we are conducting internal audits and management reviews of those measurements, along with the rest of the quality management system, we can be confident that all of these measurements are properly documented, up to date, accurate, and that they have been communicated to the quality personnel and top management. In our final episode of this series, we are going to focus on ISO 9001 certification programs and how those concepts fit into the ISO 9001 framework for quality management. Thank you for watching. For more videos, please visit our website at kellermanconsulting.com or follow us on LinkedIn or YouTube.